Dr. Gayle Carson, thank you so much for joining us. You're known as the SOB, the Spunky Old Broad. I love your branding, and you and I have been friends for quite some time, and you do a great service in the world. And so I'd love for you to, I could share what you do, but I would really love for you to share what you do, because I know you have such passion for the audience that you serve.
Well, I work actually in two areas. Number one, the radio, because I do 12 radio shows a month. And then the other passion is for women 50 plus, because I so believe that there are so many women out there with so much potential and talent. And sometimes they just don't believe that they still have it because they've reached that mid mark.
Well, so you have been in the media a lot. And so can you kind of explain how you got started in that and how you kind of built your media empire?
Well, I was trained actually in the media. I went to Emerson College in Boston, and I graduated with a degree in theater, broadcasting, speech, etc. And so I did radio shows in college. And then when I came to Miami, I started training people in TV commercials, because I also had a SAG-AFTRA talent agency. And so we booked people in commercials. And then after that, I was a TV spokesperson for Clairol. Went all over the country redoing women, which was a whole hoot. It was fantastic. We used to take a woman in her 20s or 40s or 60s and then bring her in on a Tuesday before, and then on Wednesday completely change her, and Thursday do a split screen with the before and after. And then I was doing a program for Entrepreneur Magazine called Women in Business. And then when they sold their publication, they stopped the broadcast division. And so that's when I started this other avenue, and I do 3 different shows now: Women in Business, Living Regret Free, and for SOB Radio, which is Women 50 plus.
So you have a tremendous amount of experience in this, but let me ask you a question. Does somebody have to have that kind of experience in order to be able to share their message in the media?
I don't think they have to have that experience. They have to have the ability to be a good interviewer, number one, and then they have to be able to pull out of people what needs to be said and be able to cut them off when they keep talking and talking and talking. So those are the skills that are really necessary.
And where does someone learn those skills?
Well, I mean, I have a course on Get on TV, but it's really for those people who want to do those 3-minute TV appearances and so forth. But we can train people to get ready for the media. And
what are the basic tenets of that?
Well, first, you mean for TV or for radio?
Yeah, for if someone just, again, most of my audience are going to be business owners, and they would love the visibility. Obviously, they, we've done a lot of, I've shared a lot of experiences, having been in the media over 2,000 times. You learn a lot by just doing it. So, you could kind of shorten the learning curve for people. But what would you like if you were to cover this in, say, a 45-minute workshop? What would be the main areas that you would want to make sure to talk about to that audience?
Okay, number one, they have to have only 3 points. More than 3 points will get lost. Number two, they have to have data. They need statistics on what they're trying to either make a case for or prove. Thirdly, they've got to look the part. And fourthly, bring some props to make it exciting.
Yeah, TV is a very visual media, and I totally agree on the data, because the data is what kind of makes it newsworthy, and of course it backs up your argument. If you're just coming in and talking about opinions, people aren't going to believe you, and so
exactly.
Now, when you say looking the part, if I feel insecure about how I look, and maybe we all do from time to time, what can I do?
Well, of course, there are image people you can go to. But for example, if you're a doctor, you should have on your white coat and your stethoscope, etc. If you are even in, let's say, an air conditioning business, there's nothing wrong with wearing a uniform with your logo on it. And I mean, it's to be the part. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? So I think, one thing that I found is that the media they like to identify you and say, oh, well, Gayle Carson Well, she's the woman who helps women over 50 live their dreams, right? And you want to be able to like, oh, Josh Elledge, he's the guy that turns business owners or thoughtful business owners into media celebrities, or he's the, savings angel, he's the guy that can get you a deal, hookup, or upgrade on anything. It's like, it's really nice when you can get typecast as, and it's memorable, because then when a story comes up, you're like, hey, we've got a story and it's about boomer women. Who are they going to think of? Well, they're going to think of Gayle.
Exactly. I mean, some stations, the market I'm too old for. They have a younger population, so I'm just not appropriate. Others, I had one station, I won't say what it was, but I had one station turn me down because I was the SOB. They just thought that was too risque. So.
And how did you come up with, how did you settle on SOB, Spunky Old Broad? Which, by the way, perfectly appropriate for my audience.
Well, perfectly. Number one, I am spunky. Number two, I am old. And number three, I am a broad. So in reality, we were sitting in the back of the room, a bunch of women, and they had told us to be quiet. And I said, well, that's because we're a bunch of SOBs, spunky old broad, and it stuck. And I trademarked it, and that's what I'm known as now.
Yeah. Gayle, how can people listen to your radio show? You'd mentioned that you do a lot of radio programs. Where does someone listen to that?
Well, of course, they're all over the place. As you know, today, radio shows get translated into podcasts after 30 days. So they're all over the place. I mean, I'm on iHeartRadio. I'm on Spotify. They can go to radioearnetwork.com. My shows are on also SOBradionetwork.com. And they can go to my website, spunkyoldbroad.com, and all my shows are posted there as well.
And you've also written a book, right? You have books.
Yeah, I have books. I have How to Be an SOB, a spunky old broad who kicks butt. I have the SOB Guide to Business Success. I have How to Get to the Top and Stay There, Winning Ways. So I've got a variety of books that they can also find on my website. And
which one's your newest?
The newest one is the SOB Guide to Business Success.
And give me the basic tenets of this book.
Well, we go into 12 different chapters on each different methodology that you can use to promote and advertise and market your business, because it doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you can't market it, you don't have a business.
Yeah.
And people don't like to hear that.
Well, it's true. I mean, you can have the best business idea or best business in the world, and if people don't know about it, you're not going to be in business long. Exactly. So what are your favorite ways for getting visibility and getting attention if you're in business for yourself?
Well, of course, I'm biased, but I love the media. I love radio. I love TV. I love writing articles, especially in industry magazines, depending on your industry. So that's one. I think giving local speeches to your community is very important, and being active in your community is important. I mean, whether it's United Way or Chambers of Commerce or Rotary or whatever it is you do, being active in your community is a way for people to know who you are.
I really strongly agree with that. And, when I look at some of the easiest business opportunities that have come about, generally it's because of an in-person meeting. So I was at a conference, had a conversation, whether that's an industry conference that we all travel in for, or, just getting together in person. Really, there's so many opportunities, and I think it could be easy to overlook our local opportunities because we think, well, my job is just to build my business online. But look, there's a lot of other, if you do B2B work, there's a lot of other businesses. There are a lot of consumers locally that just based on your participation in organizations can be really great. Gayle, what would be some evidence that you've gotten some great business as a result of your local involvement?
Well, I'm just going to mention that I went to a Chamber of Commerce meeting that I wasn't supposed to go to because it was for not-for-profits, and that is where I met the owner of the radio station that I eventually ended up working for. And when he announced, he owned this radio station, and I went up to him and I said, "Are you looking for new talent?" And of course, the answer, well, who is this woman, but I pursued it, and now it's done very well. So that's a perfect evidence of going to a local chamber meeting and meeting someone who owns a station.
You have a bit of an extroverted personality. I have my bursts of extrovertness, and then I need to recharge. But what if somebody is, oh my gosh, Gayle, that just scares me to walk into a room, and I'm supposed to network with all these people. Like I just wouldn't know what to say. I feel incredibly uncomfortable. How can they make the best use of those in-person opportunities?
Well, first of all, I think they need to prepare ahead of time. What is it they want to say? What do they want to get across? What can they say to somebody when they first meet them? Number two, don't look at everybody in the room. Pick out one person, go to that person, and find out about that person, because people always want to talk about themselves. So if I say to you, hi, Josh, I'm Gayle Carson. I'm new here. Tell me a little bit about yourself. What is it you do? I'm not saying what I do. Tell me what you do. I mean, I'd love to know more about you. You start talking, and I'm relieved of all responsibility. Yeah. And eventually you're going to say to me, what do you do?
Yeah, it's really interesting, Gayle. I really like learning about someone else first before I share anything about what I do.
And you're doing it right. You're doing it right.
Because I think I'm feeling I might be a little selfish, but I feel like if I can get to know a little bit more about them first, then I know what flavor of Josh to share with them, because I've got a couple of different persons, there's different things I can do. And so if I find out that they're really interested in working with influencers, well, then I can talk about, maybe, I could position myself as, well, that's, we do a lot of work in that field. And so I remember, I've had conversations where, we're at an event and someone say, well, hey, what do you do? I'll kind of almost just not really answer that, but really turn around well, I want to know what you do. It's almost uncomfortable for me to divulge what I do without hearing what they do first. And I really like it. This goes back to basic how to win friends and influence people, Dale Carnegie. People love generally to talk about themselves. And so if you did nothing else, but just listen, I'm just going to ask lots of questions, and I don't have to share anything about what I do, but you're right, that is naturally going to come up in the conversation.
Exactly. And it's very important because people just love to talk about themselves, and you're making it very easy for them.
Yeah, totally agreed. And so, Gayle, you also do you do workshops as well. Is that correct?
I do. Well, I do group coaching, and I do one-on-one coaching for these women 50 plus, as well as those who want to do media work. But primarily with women 50 plus, I'm really working on how to reinvent themselves. That's my real forte, is showing them where they can go and what they can do, and how they can utilize everything in their background to be whoever it is they want to be now.
Do you feel that, women in your audience, would they be getting to a point where they would just be maybe dissatisfied with where they are professionally? Is that what precipitates a relationship with you?
No, it could be a combination of that, but it could also be they've been downsized or right-sized, or it could be now they're an empty nester, or it could be now they're divorced, or maybe widowed. And all of those things really do change a person, and they look around and say, wow, wait a minute, what's happening, and what do I do now? And it's a whole different part of my life. So those are all the things that precipitate that.
And tell me what happens at an SOB workshop.
You don't want to know. No, really, it's a matter. We really all have a pretty good time, and everything is in a safe space. No one talks about the other person or what they can do, and it stays in that workshop. I mean, everything is contained in that workshop, and basically they walk out of there with a plan of action.
Well, that doesn't sound like a bad idea at all. Well, that's great. Well, Dr. Gayle, I want to thank you so much for joining us. I think the world of you. We've been friends for a while. I love the work that you're doing. I love that, anyone that is in the space of helping people get their message out and have a bigger impact in the world. I see you and I as, we feel that charge. We know that, someone who intends on doing good in the world, and if they don't have that platform, they don't have that ability, it pains me to think that they would give up on that dream, or that they would stagnate and really never fulfill their potential. And so I just want to say thank you so much for serving and helping people in the way that you do.
The same to you, Josh, because I know all the work that you're doing. I know the charity you are passionate about. So back at you.
Well, Dr. Gayle, again, you are the SOB, the Spunky Old Broad. Your website is spunkyoldbroad.com. Absolutely a delight. There's videos you can watch with Dr. Gayle. Certainly get connected to Dr. Gayle's radio show. You've got an active blog, and you've got a great community through social media as well. Dr. Gayle, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.